Oh my God, you guys. I'm so sorry that this episode is a couple of days late. I had shows over the weekend, so I was in hotel rooms and on the road. I brought some travel equipment with me, thinking that I was going to make sort of a on the road episode in my hotel room, but it didn't work. So here we are. I'm back in my house. I got set up today and then realized, wow, I'm really tired. So I went back to bed, slept for like 3 hours. Now I'm up. The sun is down. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I'm in pajamas. I don't care. That's what this episode is. This is a special Call Kevin After Dark.
Call Kevin After Dark.
It's the Call Kevin podcast. It's the podcast of Eugene. It's the Call Kevin podcast. On asking things. Podcast Kevin with Call Kevin.
And we're back. How are you guys doing? I'm doing good. Like I said, I'm a little tired. I almost lost my voice over the weekend, which never happens to me. You can almost hear my voice sounds slightly more like person who smoked in the 50s. You know what I mean? That voice. I always kind of wanted that voice. What's happening? I am home for a few days. But coming up, I have shows in Philadelphia, Belmore, Long Island, Buffalo, New York, and Baltimore. That's coming up in a week or so. Those are my remaining shows in the month of March. Details and tickets and all that stuff are on my website, kevinjamesthornton.com. And while you're there, you might as well go ahead and leave a message for Call Kevin. There's a button, you just push it and start talking. Ask a question, tell us a story, whatever you want to say. Speaking of all that, let's dive right into our first message.
Hi, Kevin. I just wanted to leave a message. I just recently signed up for your newsletter, and I've always really enjoyed your content. And I'm also originally from the Midwest and lived in LA for a while. And I moved back to Michigan, where I'm originally from LA, around the same time that you moved to Ohio from LA. So, I was just wondering if you wouldn't mind, why did you move from LA? Maybe you've talked about it on a recent post or previous podcast. I haven't seen everything, but and I'm also wondering, what do you miss most about LA? We made it through our first winter back in the Midwest. I know you're on the road again, but cheers to us for that. And yeah, hope this finds you well. Thank you.
My timeline is very confusing. If you sort of follow along and piece together the wild tales I share with you, I lived in LA a very long time ago. I did not move from LA recently. I moved to LA in maybe 2009. I was there for a couple of years. I've mainly been living in Nashville the last couple of decades. Not that these details are super important. And then very recently, I moved to this little neighborhood in Cincinnati, and a lot of people are like, why did you move to Cincinnati, of all places? After my big breakup a couple years back, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I knew that I was not going to stay in Nashville. I had been ready to leave Nashville for a long time. It's a fine city. I had just moved on in so many ways and wanted something different. I spent several months thinking about where I wanted to go. I definitely looked at moving back to Los Angeles because I love LA. It gets a bad rap, but the weather is beautiful. On one side of you, you've got the ocean and beaches, and on the other side of you, you've got mountains. Sure, the traffic is legendary, but if you can create a little life for yourself where you live and your hangout spots and your friends are all relatively close by. I know maybe sometimes that's impossible. I had a really lovely, more than one thing can be true at once. I had a lovely little life there, and I was simultaneously in sort of an abusive relationship with an alcoholic. That part was not lovely. That part was horrific. But it's a lovely town. I love the weather. I love the palm trees. I love the sun. And I considered going back there when I was figuring out where I wanted to live. I ultimately chose Cincinnati. There's this little arts neighborhood here. I found a condo by the park, and I really wanted a little hideaway place when I'm not doing shows to come home and rest like I did today, pet my cat, lay on the couch and watch some movies. Last night I watched that new Alien movie on Hulu. It was like watching a video game. What was the question? I love LA.
Hi, Kevin. My name is Whitney,
Hi,
and
Whitney.
it is a Sunday night, and I just got done listening to your latest episode of Call Kevin, and I am on the road, so I'm traveling back home. I am from the same hometown that you are from,
Oh, my.
so I have similar feelings about Southern Indiana and all of its glory. Um, and I just had a random thought, and it's a very random kind of question, but I think it would be so interesting to know, since we grew up kind of in the same area, and probably a lot of people. I don't know. Maybe they'll find it interesting. Maybe they won't.
Oh my God, Whitney, get to it.
I'm wondering if you can tell us about your favorite
Jesus Christ.
food
Okay.
from school cafeterias.
Okay.
So, if you had a particular meal when you were either in grade school or high school or whatever, where you were like, you know what, that lunch lady was on her shit. It was on fire today. Like, if you had a meal that you always looked forward to in school from your school's cafeteria. I will tell you what mine was. We always had every Wednesday
Whitney,
at
my
my high
God.
school, we had chicken nugget day. And I still think about chicken nugget day because it was great. It was the best lunch of the whole week. And it was chicken nuggets, like good-ish chicken nuggets.
I don't remember chicken nuggets.
Mashed potatoes, gravy, and I think like a roll and like some kind of vegetable. Okay, when I tell you, like, as a 15, 16-year-old, everyone in school loved chicken nugget day. This was the day you lived for. You were sad if you were like sick on chicken nugget day and couldn't come to school and you had to stay at home. So, school lunches obviously are notorious for being terrible, but I just want to know, like, what was a school lunch that you actually really enjoyed? Because we just need to talk about something silly and lighthearted, and I appreciate your answer, and thanks for everything you do. Bye.
All right. First, I don't want anyone to feel like I will shame you for slow talking on Call Kevin. I want you to show up as you are. I want you to take your time. I was just thinking, I don't know that I have super vivid cafeteria food memories. I mean, the one favorite thing that popped to mind, not the square pizza. I know a lot of you are thinking square pizza, which was fine. But we occasionally had, I want to say it was called taco pizza. It was in the shape of an octagon. It was orange, and it was pizza, but it had like taco seasoning flavors. And that was pretty damn good. The taco pizza. I think that's what it was called. And then, of course, the square pizza. I don't remember much else. I feel like we occasionally had, I want to say they were called vegetable fritters, maybe. They were these sort of like fried mush sticks. They were tasty though. By the time I was in high school, they had the cafeteria set up. Well, first, a little bit of a tangent. My first year of high school, we could leave campus and we all would go to the mall nearby. And there was this place in the mall in Washington Square Mall in Evansville, Indiana. It's still there. There's nothing else in this mall except for some doctor's offices now and a little pizza place called Noble Romans. And the breadsticks are weirdly delicious. I don't know why, because they're just like fast food breadsticks. And the cheese sauce they give you, it was so good. I was there not long ago and I was like, wait, Noble Romans is still here? And I had to try the breadsticks and they're exactly the same. They're so good. So that was my pretty much daily lunch. And then they shut the campus down and they didn't let us leave anymore. But in my cafeteria, they did have the old school standard food, but then there was like, they were trying to make it more modern. So I feel like we had like a Taco Bell or something in our cafeteria. Is that true? We had options. I never really ate the cafeteria food much past like 7th or 8th grade. What else is happening? Is there more to this show? There sure is, because you're listening to
Call Kevin After Dark.
That's right.
You are listening to the Call Kevin podcast.
Hi, Kevin. My name's Kim. I'm from Canada. I am a fan of all your content. I really love everything you do. I love your sense of humor. I'm just calling because I was just thinking about generations and different generations connecting. I'm actually a nurse and I work with a lot of different generations. So the newer generation coming up are very young, 22, 23-year-olds that I'm connecting with and teaching and that kind of thing. And I'm really enjoying, and I've always enjoyed connecting with people of all different generations, whether it's older, younger. I really like to understand how they function, how they see the world. Just wondering what your thoughts are. I can kind of see that it seems like you have a really big bunch of different generations that are interested in your content and are fans. I'm just wondering what you think about that. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't really like to think negatively per se about different generations. I think we all come with some baggage. I am a elder millennial, as they say. I'm almost 40 this year, so I see things in a different way. I was in the 90s. I was a kid, so it was a lot of fun. It was a really great time to grow up, and kids are growing up in a different time. So yeah, anyways, just my random thoughts. Keep doing what you're doing. I really love it. It's great. Thank you so much. Bye.
I do have a really wide range of ages in my audience for sure. And I just think it's personally kind of interesting the different personality traits that different generations seem to have in common, or not in common, like within themselves. I had to teach a class in the before times. I was teaching this class that had a lot of very young people, 19, 20-year-olds. And it was the first time I'd been around that age group, really. And I guess they were Gen Z. And what's the generation underneath that? I don't know. They were Gen Z. And their sense of humor was really cool. Gens, in my experience anyway, they didn't really seem to have a lot of ageism going on. You know what I mean? Like my age group, Generation X, we were ageist as fuck. I remember thinking anyone over 30 was old and I don't want to talk to you. But these kids didn't seem to have that element in their brains. And they were smart and emotionally intelligent and funny. I really, in what experience I've had, I really love Gen Z. I know that in my audience and on this show, we have Gen Z all the way to boomers and beyond. And a ton of parents tell me that their kids really, the animations that Java Doodles online animates some of my stories. There's an even younger generation coming up for future ticket sales to Kevin James Thornton shows. So I think it's super interesting, the different personality traits that generations seem to have. I was thinking recently about the boomer generation, how much the Vietnam conflict shaped that generation. And we think of the late 60s as like the hippies, Woodstock, peace, love, and also civil rights, and just like such a tumultuous, like rich with history time period. And those young people, those 20-year-olds became boomers today. And I think it's interesting to think about how that conflict, I think, so deeply affected in unexpected ways. Because you think hippies are not exactly what I think would become who typically the boomer generation is. But when you, am I getting way too tangenty about this? But that was a generation that was just like, don't send me to war. It was really just that simple. I think it was expressed in like peace, love, and peace signs. But it was moreover, do not send me across the world to die. That's like some weird trauma. It's like a specific kind of trauma, you know? And then you've got Gen Z who is growing up in this world. You know, we've got like big existential things like climate and nobody can make any money. That tends to like turn you into a different kind of person. And then we've got Gen X, which is such a specific generation. How would you describe Gen X? We are cynical and dry and over it and smart. And we created the internet, so everyone needs to back off.
I just want you to know how sad I feel throughout the week. And then when Sunday comes, I feel so much better when I can talk to you. That's all. I just feel better when I can talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that.
Call Kevin after
I did not mean to
dark.
hit that button.
Hi, Kevin. It's Rebecca from Portland, Oregon. And I just love your show. I love your TikToks. I love the Sunday message. And I'm having a hard time right now because I had to like break up with a friend. And this isn't something that I anticipated that I would have to do in my mid-40s. I'm realizing that I really love my friends a lot. They're really important to me. And sometimes having to part ways with a friend hurts more than losing like a partner or a lover or something like that. I'm wondering if you can relate, like, you've talked about like some breakups you've been through even recently, but do you have that experience? Like, have you ever had to like explicitly part ways? Like, not the kind where you just drift apart from a friend and you don't see them for a while, but where you have to actually like explicitly cut things off for one reason or another. Yeah, and if you've been through that, like, what did you learn from it? If not, I'd love to hear your thoughts anyway. Okay, take care.
I recently said, maybe it was in a social media video or maybe it was on the show. I'm going to do this a lot where, because when I tell a story, sometimes I'll tell it on Instagram, maybe I'll tell it on the podcast, maybe I'm telling it to a friend, and then I start to lose track of where I've told the story. So I'm sorry if I repeat myself. When I showed up at college, I was totally emotionally damaged. I went through what I think could be considered a primitive version of conversion therapy. I showed up at college just like lost and hurt. And, you know, over the 5+ years I was at college, I resolved some things and I got better. And, you know, by the time I ended college, I was not the damaged creature that I was when I started college. But pretty much everyone I know from that era, it's very hard for me to connect with. And I mean, this is more of a me thing than a them thing. But if I only knew you in the mid to late 90s and that's it, it's real. A lot of people often want to reconnect in college, and I don't. And it's not you. It's that was it was a hard era for me. And I don't even know that how you saw me or how you remember me, but I know how I remember me. And it's not like I can't. It's not like it's hard to describe. It just is what it is. And so I've had some people from that era that, like, maybe we've had gotten together for dinner or tried to reconnect, and I'm just like, I'm not feeling it. And it's not you, it's me. It's just it's a complex life thing. I've also had this has happened to me twice in like fully adult life, probably like my mid 30s. On two separate occasions, I had good, decently close friends who decided to become religious. Both of these people became born again Christians. And, they know that my history with that. And it's fine. I say this a lot. I'm truly fine with whatever your beliefs are. And I make a conscious effort to not belief shame. This is the second time I said shame in this episode. Slow talking shame and now belief shame. The only time I have a problem with your beliefs is if your beliefs start to become sort of weirdly weaponized at me or other people. That's the thing it's hard to tolerate. And on both of these occasions, they were both men, totally separate instances. It's like I knew it was coming. They're like, okay, they're giving their life to Jesus. They're turning into evangelical Christians. And here we go, count it down, 3, 2, 1. Guess what, Kevin? It's a sin to be gay. Okay, haven't heard that before. Like, why does your religion need to include a little opinion about me? So both those those are the two friends I guess I had to break up with. It's happened to me twice. You know what? Let's take a moment and talk about our sponsor for this episode. This episode is sponsored by Strings for... Do I sound surly tonight? I am not. I think it's because I slept all day and then I got out of bed. I didn't even put clothes on. My hair's messed up. You know what? I need a little bit of throat spray. Hold on. I'm not sick. I just told you I lost my voice. Hold on. Excuse me. All right. That was a blast of cherry chloroseptic. My voice feels better already. Hold on. I have an iced beverage. Hold on. That's a metal straw that you heard. I also have a hot beverage. Okay, here we go. Strings for Hope is a survivor-led organization that has dedicated the last decade to making a positive impact on the local Nashville community. By upcycling secondhand musical strings, we create job opportunities for individuals overcoming substance use disorder, domestic violence, and human trafficking. At Strings for Hope, we believe that economic opportunity is key to disrupting cycles of abuse and exploitation. Whether survivors seek long-term employment with us or view it as a stepping stone toward their goals, we provide a trauma-informed workplace with ongoing training, assistance, and dignified wages. This is a little jewelry studio in Nashville, Tennessee, in the same building where my photography studio was. And they make really cool jewelry out of used guitar strings. They have lots of it for sale on their website, stringsforhope.com. You should go check it out. It's for a good cause. It's neat and meaningful. stringsforhope.com.
Hey Kevin, Marissa here from Northern Colorado. Your prompt this week in the Secret Sunday message was sum up a couple things that are at the center of our being. And I feel like that's both an easy question and a super difficult question, because the center of our being, that is totally open to interpretation. I feel like my first instinct was to go to identity, but then what is identity? I am all of these different things. I play all of these different roles, but Dang, dude, you made me go deep. Like, what is at the center of my being? I feel like I was born having an existential crisis, if I can even say the word. And I'm almost 40 and definitely still having an existential crisis. I was born feeling like this can't be it. The way that our society functions can't be how it was meant to function in this world. And that feeling has ebbed and flowed throughout my life, and now it's very prevalent again. It's a strong feeling of this isn't how it's supposed to be. It's just, it can't be. It's absolutely not supposed to be this way. How people, I mean, there's so much beauty in the world. There's incredible people in the world. There's so much love in the world. But this can't be how it's supposed to be on the day to day, you know? So many people just attempting to make ends meet. I mean, I don't know. I think at the center of my being is an existential crisis. But at the center of my being is a deep, deep empathy for all living things, for people, for animals, for nature, for all living things. And that has been since I was a little wee human. I feel like there's this unspoken connection between all of us. There's a life force between all of us. Name it what you will. And that's beautiful. And I advocate for it. And gosh, I kind of lost where I was going. But to sum up, what's at the center of my being is a deep empathy for all living things and a core knowledge that this isn't our best. Like this version of the world, this version of humanity in this world as we know it is not our best work. And there's going to be so many versions to come, I think. Anyways, that made no sense.
No, yes, it
Okay, bye.
did. And I think a lot of us are having thoughts along these lines. I know that I am. And it really comes down to this. America, we got it wrong. The American dream thing ain't it. Like we have created a society that's every man for himself and make a profit at all cost. It's just you and screw everybody else. And we all suffer. And again, I say this in my act right now. This is not a left-right thing. It's a people thing. It's not a partisan thing. You're right. We were not meant to live like this. And I think I can go back and say this is a Jesus thing. I went to a lot of countries last year. And I don't want to sit here and say, oh, look how much better they are in Europe. But you do get to see different ways of being. I've been to a lot of places. I worked on a cruise ship for many years that went all over South America. We went down the Amazon River for a month. So I got to interact with people who live in the Amazon. Last year, I had several shows throughout Europe. I got to go to Paris and Berlin and Helsinki. There were lots of moments where I remember being in European public parks with clean restrooms for everyone to use. Sometimes I don't want to get too far off track here. In America, we created the wrong thing. What this person is saying, I think, it's just like, it shouldn't be this every person for themselves society. We're all happier when everyone's happier. It would be a better world if we weren't so suspicious of how much are they taking? How much are they getting? I worked harder. It would none of us are good. In America, we have this illusion that we're all about to be millionaires, and none of us are. I mean, I think a lot of us are waking up to the American myth. None of us are going to be millionaires. We're all going to make just enough money to pay the bills. It would be a better society if we like pooled our resources and made lovely things that everyone can share. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe that was convoluted, but I think you know what I'm getting at. Or do you?
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again.
Hello, Kevin. I apologize. I will be awkward.
Great.
My name is Horatio. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I recently discovered your content, and it has been helping me through some difficult times. And something I resonate with especially is the absurdity and your commitment to leaning into absurdity. While my experience was not organized religion as such, I have experienced some very, isolating absurdity in my life. And I've found ways of talking about it. I've written and performed poetry around those experiences. And I've been finding in the past couple years that that is no longer enough. That the way I've been able to tell my story, which has been, deadly serious, also fails to capture things. And I'm starting to encounter things about my relationship with humor that are a form of empowerment I didn't have access to before. And I want to find a place for that. I am very drawn to stand-up comedy, to memoirs, to ways of being direct about that experience that are different from what I've been able to experience through performance poetry. And so I guess my question for you, because, I don't know when comedy or other things like that might be something I'm ready for, and I wonder, was there a moment when you decided you were ready to tell your story this way? Did it just happen by itself, or was there a moment that you were conscious of when it was possible to do that? And I'm appreciative of this space you've created, and thank you.
You know what? I do encounter fairly regularly people who are drawn to this idea of sort of telling your story in a creative, public way, whether it's stand-up comedy or just very much more like written storytelling monologue kind of stuff. I am a huge proponent, is that the word? For people creating their own events. And not everyone has this in them, or maybe the resources, but a lot of people do more than they think. Because I think the satisfying thing would be to find like-minded people who want to tell stories and hear stories, and find some coffee shop or some community center and make your own event. If you feel like you could successfully gather 25 people, or maybe gather people together who also want to tell stories and create a cool evening where you all get up for 10 minutes and tell a story, and you're in a room with 20, 30, or 100, or how many people you can gather who are interested in doing that, it's always a super satisfying thing. I've done it a handful of times, and it's sort of how I started accidentally. I lived in Nashville for many years, and I was in bands, and I wanted to be a professional musician. And I got kind of far here and there, but it never quite stuck. And there was one, after the last the big record deal disappointment, it just didn't work. And I decided I wanted to put my creativity elsewhere. And I started writing little monologues. I didn't know they were monologues at first. I thought maybe I was doing a David Sedaris thing or something. I wrote these little stories about growing up in church and slowly realizing I'm gay because there were so many absurd, funny things that happened. I wrote these little vignette chapters, and I got up at an open mic at a coffee house, and I just read one. And the audience ate it up, and they laughed, and it was super fun and satisfying, so I kept going to open mics with my stories. If you're in a community that has like lots of open mic things, go give it a shot. And if you don't have open mic things in your community, create your own. Create your own event. I will say the straight up stand up path, stand up comedy open mics are kind of mean, usually, not always. But it might not be the satisfying experience you're hoping for. Like just pure stand up comedy. Oh, sorry, train's going by. The pure stand up comedy open mic, you're in a room of other aspiring comedians trying out material. Nobody really laughs. It can often be kind of a weird atmosphere and probably not the place you want to go take your story and read it. But some like coffee shop where they're doing like acoustic songs and poetry, go do that. It can be very satisfying, or create your own.
Have you ever had a girlfriend?
Yes, I have. No, I haven't.
Have you ever had a girlfriend?
Okay, I heard you the first time. What is this message? Not really. When I was in like middle school, because I thought that's what you were supposed to do, but not in real life now.
Hello, Kevin and Kevin's wonderful audience. I'm going to say two things close to the center of my being are, let's see, space and gentleness. Because I think you need both. I think we have to have the space to just endure existence, you know what I mean? Like a mind and an imagination that's big enough to just let life happen, let life unfold without getting involved. You know what I mean? Because that's life's going to happen, whether we want it to happen or not. Like we're here, we're just going to experience this, and that's enough. And I have to really stop myself every single day. In fact, that's what I tell myself when I'm meditating. I'm like, this is enough. I'm here. This is all I have to do in this moment is just simply be here. And it's like giving myself permission to just experience this, and then I kind of shrink into nothing, and I just experience space, or I imagine the sky, or I go to a park and I just look at the sky, and it's just wonderful. And it's not like I disappear, like I'm a nihilist or anything like that, but it's like it puts everything in perspective. Like there's an ease or like a flowingness. And on days when I'm really tense and tight, or like today, for whatever reason, I just was kind of in a grumpy mood, and I went for a really nice walk. I put the I took the earbuds out, and I just was like, whatever. I'm just going to experience this. And I just walked, and it was great. And the other thing I would say is gentleness. I think that's the most important quality any man can develop. It's not like being this tough, rugged asshole, you know what I mean? It's like just being gentle, being kind. That's such an important skill for men to develop, and women. But I think women have that quality like built into them. It's more innate in women. Anyways, I'm gonna run out of time. I love all of you. Goodbye.
Actually, that's another element of the previous message of the person talking about the existential crisis, how this is not what the world is supposed to be. And then my response wasn't super clear. That's another element of like, in our society, we're so taught and ingrained with this idea to achieve, make money, get rich. You're almost going to be a millionaire. Take more, get more. And none of that stuff is satisfying. Like the older I get, I'm like, it really is the simple things. It's the really simple things that are accessible to everyone, especially when like we create a society where we encourage access to the simple things. Enjoying nature, some good food with friends, taking a walk, breathing in some air. There isn't much more. There really isn't. I think this would be a good moment for a dance break.
Dance break in your car, in your office, where you are. Dance break, move your booty, break it down like it's your duty. Dance break. Dance break.
Call Kevin after dark.
Hi, Kevin. This is Selena from Central California. I have been trying not to look at the dumpster fire, and the other day got hooked on some doom scrolling through Instagram and realized how just utterly horrible I felt, like physically horrible in, 10, 15 minutes, that I was getting a headache and that I was starting to really just feel scared about the world and what's going on with everything. And I don't like feeling that way, but I don't have a lot of places to protest or to do different things like that. So, in order to get my mental health back in order, um, I stopped looking at the dumpster fire, and then I started painting some rocks because that's what I do. I paint rocks in my spare time, and I leave them out for people to find just wherever I am. And they're called kindness rocks, but I don't know that they need to be kind. So right now I'm making rocks that have MAGA on them, and it stands for Make America Gay Again. And there's a big rainbow on it, and I think that that's lovely. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and I would love to hear what other people who listen to you and are supportive of you, what they do as micro protests in this dumpster fire of an era that we have going on. So, yeah, thanks for everything you do.
I don't know if you're referring to, I made a video a couple weeks ago that said something, I kept using the phrase, it's okay to stop gazing at the dumpster fire. I ended up taking it down because a couple people I could tell misunderstood what I was saying. And I've thought a lot about this, especially these ideas on social media, because deep truths are not sound bites. You know what I mean? It's like things that are real in real life and true and heavy and of big importance. They aren't wrapped up in a 30-second snappy sound bite on TikTok. And we're in this sort of era where everything needs to be a snappy soundbite, and it's too one-dimensional. Like, more than one thing can be true at the same time. It often is. And when I said, hey, it's okay to stop gazing at the dumpster fire, I would like to explain a little more what I mean by that. But a couple people who misunderstood what I was saying thought I was just sort of in this sort of male white privilege place of saying, just stop paying attention, la 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 la, just don't look. And that's not what I was saying. There's also lots of posts on social media right now that are like, if you're not posting every day about protest, and if you're posting something about something stupid, you're part of the problem. And that's too one-dimensional. It's too simple for a big old complex world that we're living in. I really think it's important to take care of yourself, regardless of how you feel about things. The world is getting crazy, isn't it? It's important to take care of yourself. I understand the concept of we feel that this is such an important, giant thing. How dare you look away? It's so important. You need to be screaming about this 24/7. You need to be white knuckling this. Do not loosen your grip. Scream, scream, scream. Never look away. I understand where that feeling comes from because we feel maybe helpless and powerless and we don't know what to do. So it's like, don't you dare look away. I understand why some people want to say that, but I feel like that's the wrong path because you are a human being and you're soft and you're fragile and you are not built for that. None of us are. None of us are built to gaze nonstop into the abyss. In fact, I would encourage you to stop doing that. What are you changing other than yourself for the worse? What are you fixing tonight? by obsessing and stressing and losing sleep, you should rest. You should watch something lighthearted or nostalgic on TV and go to bed and think about a time when you were happier and sleep and wake up and get ready to maybe do something tomorrow, whatever you have the strength to do. I do not agree that you should never look away. More than one thing can be true at the same time. Nothing is a simple soundbite. Whatever you have within yourself to do what you think is right, then do it. And then rest.
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again.
Sorry, I thought that would buy me more time. I need to look at what messages are left. Okay. I do not know what these are. Let's try this one.
Hi, Kevin. It's Lori from Calgary. I've been following you for a few years, and I really feel like I know you now. It feels like we're friends, which is a weird feeling because you're actually a total stranger, and of course, you don't know me at all. Anyway, my new Sunday night routine has been to go to bed early and listen to Call Kevin. And I was just reminiscing about how there was a time in my life when Sunday night included listening to Dr. Ruth, who had a phone-in show, but she dispensed advice about sex, and it was considered quite, it was kind of raunchy, because she used straight up language, and people could ask her anything about anything. I don't know. I think she's Canadian.
Those
But I
Canadians.
think her and Sue Johansson. Do you remember Sue Johansson? She also had a radio show where you could ask advice, and she would give straight talk sex advice. And I learned a lot from both of them. And then there's another time in my life when this is kind of embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you anyway because, we're friends. I would listen to Dr. Laura. I spent some time as a church lady, and a conservative one. I'm still probably guilty of being a church lady, but not conservative. Anyway, I didn't always agree with Dr. Laura, but I liked the show, and I liked her no-nonsense approach to answering questions about relationships and whatnot. And then there was a long period of time where I didn't have an advice columnist to follow. I did end up discovering some blogs. Do you remember blogs? That was after the 90s. Sexy Typewriter and Captain Awkward were places where people would write in and ask for advice. There's some podcasts that are advice, but never really connected with any of them too much. But yours feels so comfortable. Your voice soothes my ragged soul at the end of a Sunday while I think about the upcoming week, and I snuggle in to bed with a heating pad on my back. You and I are about the same age, and my cat Archie curled up beside me. Archie was sick a lot in 2024, never with the kind of bum trouble that Clover had, but yeah, it's worrisome. You just want them to be happy and comfortable, and I spent my whole Mexico budget on making sure Archie was healthy. Mexico in 2024. Hopefully, I can go in 2025. I know you travel a lot for work, but if you ever travel for fun, where do you like to go? Do you like a beach vacation? I love a beach vacation. Like you, I'm kind of introverted and I travel alone. I'm old and single. Probably a true spinster if ever there was one. But I go to Mexico and I land.
Oh no, that was close to the end. What happened there? I don't know.
You might find
Oh,
this entertaining enough to play on the podcast.
well, okay, yes, I did. What kind of vacation? I Here's one thing is yes, I travel a lot. Way more than anybody else I know. Maybe more than anyone else you know. This year, I think I'm going to 75 cities in 2025. Go look at my tour list if you haven't at kevinjamesthornton.com. It's a lot of flights. It's a lot of driving. And so a travel vacation does not sound appealing to me in this era of my life because of how much I already am traveling. So if I have like a couple weeks and I get to do something just for me in this era, I want to stay home. I built this lovely little hiding spot for myself. I want to stay home and make some food and watch some old movies. If I am in a place where I'm going to take a trip, I am more likely to go explore a city. Like I would love to go to New York and watch a couple plays, or go to Chicago and go to the museums, that sort of thing. When I was in Paris at the end of my tour last year, I had 3 nights off. Oh God, I am just so in love with that city. But I went to a couple really neat little galleries. There was I can't remember what it was called, but it was something like the Photographic Museum of Paris, and there were these photo exhibits that it kind of expanded my mind of what a photography exhibit could be. There was this one artist that the whole thing was all projections, and it was photography, but they had done all these like really elaborate projectors, so the images were like moving across the walls and the floors, and they were synced up with music. And I just sat there by myself. I found like a little dark corner. There was one room that was just like sensory overload, but I sat there for like an hour in Paris by myself in this little art gallery and watched this really neat exhibit. That's more my kind of thing. Like I want to see something cultural. I want to be in a city, something metropolitan. I want to go have a nice dinner. That's more my jam. There have been eras in life where I have been around people who want to go camping. I have enjoyed camping. I don't want to be too uncomfortable. I don't want to be hot and sweaty with bugs. If it's hot and sweaty with bugs, I'm not into it. If you want to go to like the lake, I'm not your guy. If there's bugs and sweat and sun and bugs and sweat, I'm out.
Hi, Kevin. This is Alex. There was that caller last week that brought up the MTV giveaways. And it makes me wonder, have you ever won a giveaway or sweepstake? The only time I've ever won something was back in the 2000s. I entered a contest through the Christian radio station that I was obsessed with at the time. And it was just like an online contest where you like emailed them about like how you were living your life for Jesus, and then they picked like 5 people to send a CD and a t-shirt, and I was one of the 5 people that got a CD and the t-shirt in the mail. That's the only time I've ever won a contest that I've entered. But curious to know if you have ever won anything before.
I don't think I have. I'm not really one to enter contests. I don't know that I've ever bought a lottery ticket. So I don't know that I ever put myself in positions to win things. But I do have a memory. I was very young, and my mom somehow entered a contest to win tickets to go see the country band Alabama. This is probably very early 80s. And something happened where they told her she won, but then it was a mistake and she didn't win. And I'm sure in real life it wasn't that big of a deal. But in my 8-year-old brain, the world was crashing down. I remember oh, what have they done to my mom? They told her she won and then she didn't win. I remember being really concerned. And then they ended up giving her tickets anyway, and my mom went with my grandmother. All I remember was they came back that night, and my grandmother kept talking about there was just a weird smell in the room. There was and it was someone was smoking marijuana. But I remember my grandma was like, what is that smell? What was the song? What was that Alabama song? Play me some mountain music that grandma and grandpa used to play.
Okay, it's going. Hi, Kevin. Hello, Kevin viewers. Shamala hamala to you and yours. My name is Jay, and I'm calling from California. And I just wanted to reach out to 2 of the people that were on, I think it was episode 6, the last episode. To the lady who was uncertain of the fella she was with. And she had mentioned that she didn't really pick partners well in the past. So she was kind of it kind of sounded like she had some doubt about who she was with now, but that he treated her well. And she also mentioned that he wasn't what she thought the partner she would be with would look like, I think is what she said. Don't come after me, people. And she just wasn't sure if it was the right move. But I just wanted to say that I was in a similar situation just a couple of years ago. And therapy definitely helped break the false beliefs I had about myself. And there was also all of my partners before therapy were just not great. They were toxic. And I just, at the time, I thought that's normal. This is, we deserve each other or whatever. I had these false beliefs that I could never find somebody, the saint of an angel that I have today. I love him so much. And he loves me. And this is the healthiest relationship I've ever had. And I never thought that I could have that, or that I deserve that, or that I could even be that for somebody else. Until therapy. I was single for a couple years while I went to therapy, and it helped to make a list of what I wanted and what I didn't want in a relationship, and break down those false beliefs I had about myself and about how I feel safe in the world. And I was battling through some trust issues from traumatic events in my childhood and my early teens and my early 20s. And it was difficult, but, just to summarize, you are always worth love and receiving love in a healthy way and giving love in a healthy way. it will always be the right choice. And, you know, if somebody doesn't meet your expectations or, you know, whatever, I'm not sure if you meant like looks, like physical, or just like how the relationship looks, but don't ever settle. There is somebody out there for everybody. And maybe you've already met them, maybe you haven't, you don't know. But if you find yourself in a loving relationship, cater to it, work on it, love them. You deserve it. And to the existential crisis man, yeah, I was there just a couple years ago. And all I have to say is just, you know, consult a financial advisor and just go off just a basic plan and a basic retirement plan, and you could build from there. And your life doesn't have to be, you know, you've done so many great things. You're already special just being here. Just you fighting to get to your mother's egg for you to be born here and have survived. That is something very special and unique. And I wish I had more time, but thank you all for listening. And you are worth being here, and you are worthy of love.
Thanks everyone for hanging out this week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hey, I'm on Substack now. I'm exploring the features of that. I think I'm going to use some of that in the mix with my Sunday secret message, because there's some chat features where you can talk to each other. And I think that would be a cool element for some of you. As always, go to my website, kevinjamesthornton.com. Leave me a message for a future episode of Call Kevin. Follow me on Substack, and I'll see you next week.